it's Ivy here, host of Feng Shui It. Make sure and hit that subscribe button and make sure and definitely give us a like for today. Check out our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/fengshui_TV. So today we have our guest Sharon Licata here, who's going to talk with us about shamanism. And so Sharon, thank you so much for joining here on the set today. And so the first thing we want to talk about is what is shamanism? Because that's something that people hear a lot about. They'll hear the word shamanism and they think they know what it's about or what it is. So can you start off by telling us what is shamanism?
Okay, very simply, shamanism is a method that's been used for thousands and thousands of years of altering your consciousness to go and travel to the spiritual realms. Okay? It encompasses a great number of other things as well, but that's really the primary feature, and that those journeys, as they're called, were made for bringing back information both for healing and actually survival of the tribe or community that the shaman was working for.
Okay, and so are there different types of shamanism, or is it just one type of shamanism and people do different things in it, or how does that work?
Okay, shamanism is actually a Tuvan word, a Siberian word, which means one who sees. Sees in obviously other realms, spiritual realms. So yes, there are many different types of shamanism, but they're actually called by different names. Okay. Like I say, shamanism is the Siberian word, gotcha. And it has been brought to the West as kind of the umbrella. But, I mean, there's medicine men in the Native American, the South American people have 2 or 3 different words that they use. The Aborigines in Australia have another word that they use. There's lots of different terms, but like I say, all of it ultimately means those helpers or workers of the community that travel to other realms to bring back information and healing power for their community.
Okay. Now who can experience a shamanic journey or have this shamanic experience? Because we're going to get into this journeying. This is a really big concept. It's exciting. It's a lot to talk about. So journeying, we're going to kind of tiptoe around. We'll get back to what journeying is. But who can experience a shamanic journey?
The reality is that we're all hardwired for this. The ability to shift our consciousness is something that we've kind of lost in the Western world. But yes, it's a matter of literally using something like a sonic driver that we'll talk about in a little bit to set an intent to go and find that information. So yes, it's anybody with some training to do it safely.
Okay, so since we've kind of dabbled into this whole journeying thing, let's talk about what does it mean to say I'm taking a shamanic journey? What does that mean? What's that experience like?
Okay, that's going to be different for everybody.
Every person.
And different in what traditions you're working in, or what tradition that person is in. In Core Shamanism, which is what I work with, is a matter of literally setting an intent and then turning on a sonic driver, which is a fancy term for a drum beat or a rattle at a certain speed, and then literally separating and going to that realm and meeting with the compassionate helping spirits there to gain the information and bring it back.
Now, when you're saying we're going in and we're meeting the compassionate spirits, we're going to a spiritual world, is this like meeting like your guardian angel kind of thing? Or what do we mean when we say this?
Very much so.
Okay.
I particularly don't get hung up on how the compassionate helping spirits show up to people, for people.
Right.
Guardian angels certainly fall in that category. Power animals fall in that category. There's lots of different ways. The more classic ones that show up in communities again and again and again tend to be helping animal spirits and then spiritual teachers. Right. But again, like I said, when I'm working with people, I tell them, hey, how your spirits, when I teach you, we talk about power animals and spiritual teachers. But when you guys start working together, how they show up for you, they're going to meet you more than halfway.
Right, right. And when we're having these experiences, you mentioned before that we use shamanism to go in and to work on or help with healing, whether it's emotional healing or it's a true physical healing of an illness or an ailment. I kind of want to mention the fact of how you got into this, because that's kind of touching into the realm of it.
Yeah.
Of course, you're a sculptor of
Correct.
stonework, clay and bronze and all sorts of things, just amazing artwork. And you actually started with shamanism through working on healing for your own self, right?
Correct.
Right.
In the late 90s, I was given the diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. And obviously that made things very quickly, got very severe. For me, that they pretty much slowed me down for them to say, hello, we'd like you to consider this.
Right.
And being raised Southern Baptist, that was kind of like, really? Okay. But in reality, over time and learning this process, yes, you have to take care of yourself, but I'm not on any of the heavy hitter drugs, and I'm still doing my work. And we're talking now 17, 18 years later,
Right.
when many people with that kind of diagnosis would be very
Totally debilitated.
crunched up
Right.
at this point.
Right, right.
And I'm very thankful for that, and I think the practice does lead to that considerably. In my other part with working with other people, it is spiritual healing work. But what you find and what shamanism basically looks at is says, okay, let's get the person's power back. Because shamanism around the world basically works from the premise of if someone is having extreme bad luck, illness, whatever, they've lost some of their personal power.
Right.
Not power like, oh, go conquer the
Strong, I can
world.
pick
No,
this up, right.
but personal power, strength, responsibility. And so the shaman works to bring power back to the person. It can be a power animal retrieval, which is bringing a helping spirit back, like a guardian spirit, to help the person, or infusion. And in fact, that's one of the major ways that shamanism works, is restoring power to people. With the healing aspect, that's a big part of it. The other part is looking at energies that have become located in the person's body that don't belong.
Right.
They're not necessarily bad, they just don't belong there.
Right.
And so energetically, those need to be moved on to a better place for them, as well as removed from the person. And in shamanism, that's called extraction.
Right.
So those are two of the big ways that shamans help heal people.
And as we know in our community, amongst different practitioners, whether you do Feng Shui like myself or you do shamanism like what you're saying, one of the parallels that I see is the same thing that you're doing in that body with finding it's not necessarily bad energy, it just needs to be moved or kind of rearranged. That's the same thing I do with furniture.
Absolutely.
In a home, in a space. It's not necessarily that the energy is bad, it's just bad for that spot. So what I'll do is I'll go in and kind of move the furniture around and get rid of the TVs and tell you to keep your cell phone away from your bed and all that kind of good stuff, and get chi to move around. So one of the things that I've really enjoyed as I'm learning about these different modalities and experiencing these modalities is that I think overall, one of the key things that everyone's going to notice is that there's still this core principle amongst all of us that if you keep an environment, whether the environment is the body or the environment is your home, your bedroom, your office, your car, if you keep that environment healthy and you keep that environment with a healthy flow of the energy flow, no matter whether you call it prana, whether you call it chi, whether you call it the spirit, whatever it is that you're calling it, or in just physical language, in our bodies, blood. Your blood's got to flow well. If you got a blood clot or something, you're going to have a problem. If we can keep this energy, this lifeline, this direct connection from here on earth to our creator, keep it flowing well, then we keep things healthy, we keep things happy. And that's something that I truly enjoy about shamanism, is that it's the same premise. Let's go in and figure out where the disturbance is. Let's fix that dis-ease before we have it manifest in the body. Or if it's already manifested, let's figure out how we can back it up and kind of correct it. So yeah, I love that. I love that. So can you tell us about the type of shamanism that you practice?
Okay. The type that I use is what's called Core Shamanism. It's something that Michael Harner with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies has developed and refined over a number of years. He was one of the original anthropologists who went into the Amazon and literally around the world doing the research now more than 50 years ago. The Core Shamanism takes those practices, core naturally, that he found repeated over and over and over again in cultures. And like I say, the main ones of those are knowing how to do a shamanic journey, extraction, power animal retrieval, soul retrieval, and there's a number of others, but those are the three big ones. But Core Shamanism is literally looking and taking, not borrowing from any specific culture, but learning the methods of those practices that repeat over and over and over again among communities that had no contact with each other.
And they all still have the exact same.
Yes, are very extremely similar
Right.
practices. So the reality is these have been around for thousands of years. If it didn't work, it wouldn't still be here.
Right. Neither were their cultures, right?
Exactly.
Because their entire culture really revolves around this belief and this ability to have the healings.
I mean, you look at some of the Amazon groups and the knowledge that they have of the plants and how to use them for medicines and such. And they'll say, oh, we did a journey and went and talked to the spirit of the plant and it told us how to use it.
Right.
And then here come the pharmacologist and actually check that, and
science
the science catches up.
Supported it, right?
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that I think a lot of people are pretty frustrated with, especially now in this day and age, is that with all the pharmaceuticals companies kind of badgering us with our drugs and drugging us versus, there's no money in the cure, there's only money in remaining sick and ill, is that when you go back and you start researching or, different various herbs that you can use or various modalities, you're going, wow, these things have been around for thousands of years. Why did no one tell us? And especially here in the West. I mean, we rely on just going to the doctor, getting a pill and popping it, but we never actually say, first of all, what's in the pill? And then second of all, is there anything I can do beyond that? So I think we have a lot to learn from these ancient cultures because they've lasted a lot longer than we have.
Very much so, but understand too, as a shamanic practitioner in South Carolina, you do have to be very careful. You're not prescribing.
Right.
I teach people how to go and get their own information.
Okay.
I have to speak from my own experience. This is something that worked for me. Please research it. You have to be very, very careful and very respectful. You do not diagnose. Right. You go in and help the energy that's causing the problem move on.
Right.
But the thing that's nice about it is it's very complementary with Western medicine as well. I mean, I have people come to me who say, okay, I've done the treatment, help me remove, let's check, let's see if there's any energetic remnants left that needs to be removed,
right,
so that it doesn't come back
again. Right.
Doesn't come
Absolutely.
back.
Absolutely.
And that's a very important, help me get whole so that I can go forward. Right. Lesson learned.
Right.
A lot of times.
And we see that a lot of times in that even people that maybe have reoccurring episodes of things like cancer. They'll have cancer, they go through chemo, they beat cancer the first time, a couple years later they come back through and they've got cancer again and they're going, oh no, and then energetically what they will find out when they've researched various modalities, they'll notice, oh, well that energy was still trapped in that portion of your body, or it actually had escaped to this portion. If we would have got this cleaned out, or if we would have did some energy work to remove that, those traces might not have manifested again.
The thing that's nice with shamanic journeying, though, as well, is anybody can learn. Yes, it's nice to have a shaman available and help you with the work, but ultimately, people can learn how to do this themselves, and learn how to go to the spiritual realms and answer the questions themselves. You know, it works both ways. Yes, and there's no shame in saying, hey, I need some help with this.
Right.
Get me over the hump and then get me started.
Right.
And that's really how I tend to approach. I don't collect clients. I do my best when somebody comes to me, let's solve the problem as best the spirits are willing to help us do, because they do the work, not me. I'm the conduit. And then if you're willing to learn, if you're ready, let me help you empower yourself going forward so that you can do this.
Like a maintenance, basically. After we've got the tune-up, so now let's teach you how to
teach you how to keep that spiritual connection, keep that personal power going. Because in shamanism, really, that's if there's a core belief, it's that that everything, you literally can journey to anything. Everything has a consciousness, which quantum physics is finally kind of catching up with.
Slowly catching up.
But the other part of it is that we can go and ask and keep that, by keeping that connection, we keep our own strength going.
Exactly. One of the things you kind of dabbled on was about, that I want to kind of touch into, is about the ethics behind shamanism. A lot of things, people always wonder, there's this whole level of protection, and it's fear. It's really fear with most people. Can a shaman just walk past me, and are they just going to treat me and I don't even know they're doing it? Or is it that they have to have permission? Do I have to ask for this to be done? Or can I just be coughing in the grocery store and you're going to go in and journey and fix me? Or how does this work? Because there's a lot of misnomers and a lot of fear around it because they just don't know. So let's kind of talk about that.
Okay, if somebody approaches the way you just described,
Run.
pretty much, understand that when somebody, first off, I don't go out seeking people. That's not my place. When someone contacts me, in that first responding, because a lot of it comes off the internet from various sites, the first thing in that first email is, do I have your permission to consult my spirit team on your behalf?
Okay.
Absolutely. And my folks that I work with, that I've developed over the years, that I'm very thankful they decided to work with me, and I still stay humbly in awe of what I see the spirits do, but they have very clear instructions. You do not give me information on somebody else unless it is necessary for my safety. The biggest one is the folks calling and wanting information for somebody else, or wanting me to do something for somebody else. Oh, they told me I could get contact. No. Have them call me. I will be more than happy to talk to them about this and see if they want to work with me, or it's a fit, or whatever. It makes sense. No. If you're working with somebody ethical, they are going to make sure they have permission each step of the way. And that's important. When it gets tricky is when you've got somebody that is seriously ill or in a coma. And if in that case, yes, that person can be worked with, but as a practitioner, you need to really know what you're doing, because that's a tricky situation. Somebody's in a coma. Yes, you can actually journey to someone in a coma and get their permission or not. And it can go either way. And that person, that soul, may tell you, I'm just trying to get ready to go.
To cross over, right?
And then you're there in the middle
Trying to hold them on
or the family wanting you to hold them on. So that's the situation where you definitely, and really you do this before you do take on anybody or to go to work for anybody, is a check-in with your spirit team and say, okay, is this a fit? Is this something that us as a team should be doing?
Absolutely.
Are we okay with this? Okay, how do you recommend we proceed? It's like I say, it's like people who consult angels, people who pray to the Holy Spirit and say, okay, listen, it's all very similar, if not the same thing.
It's kind of even the same way with me when I go into a home before I do a Feng Shui consult. I'll go in and I'll kind of you'll see me, and most of my close clients now, they actually notice me as soon as I walk up to the front door. Before I walk in, I'm consulting the energy of that house, because first of all, I don't deal with any type of dark energy at all. I run. And there's people that are out there that can handle it. I'm just not that person willing to do that. No volunteer here. So, and they'll actually notice me and they'll go, "Oh, you're not going to come in yet." I'm going, "No, we just need to see if this is what we need to be doing," because everything does have a consciousness. And this is something that I think you'll find, not necessarily you, but I think our audience will find across all of these types of various wellness modalities. It's that same belief system. I don't just step in and just force you to do it. And there are religious beliefs that are the same way. I mean, even like within Christianity, it'll teach Jesus would say, go into this town and spread Christianity, but if they don't want it, just wipe the dust off your feet and turn around and go somewhere else. I mean, it's kind of the same notion. And I think the biggest thing that I want our audience to be able to recognize is that you can practice various religious beliefs and still practice shamanism. There's no contradiction in being a Christian or being Buddhist or being Muslim that contradicts you from being able to do this. From a practice standpoint, because again, this is contacting your higher guides, your connection to spirit, and so whatever you call it, it's the same energy, it's the same thing.
Absolutely, they're just not. This is a method,
Right?
not a religion.
Not a religion, absolutely.
This is particularly with what I teach for the foundation. It's a method of learning how to go into trance, how to get to the spiritual realms that are safe to visit as a newbie, right. Which are the upper and the lower. We tell people, this world we refer to the middle world. Shamans tend to use Castanesta's references of ordinary reality, meaning this, and non-ordinary reality being the spirit realms. Reality being kind of a key word there. But we refer to those because when people are learning, we tell them, okay, you know how this ordinary reality is a mixed bag. Right. Another term for it's middle world. So while you're learning, let's stay out of the non-ordinary reality middle world too. Right. While you're learning, we teach you to go up to the upper world or the lower world, where over many years of looking at it and working with it, it's been determined that those are compassionate, helping spirits. Right. You're safe there.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean they may take you to task about something for your own good, right. But you're safe there.
Right.
And this is this very safe practice that would really be nice for everybody to have access to again.
Right. Absolutely. So, Sharon, what is journeying? We hear this word a lot when we're talking and learning about shamanism. What exactly does it mean to journey?
Okay. Journeying is mainly a classic thing that shamans do and have done for millenniums. The simple answer is it is altering your consciousness to go to other realms, the spiritual realms. To do so generally is done with a number of ways. I mean, you can kind of meditate to do it, but traditionally it's been with a sonic driver or in a few tribes done with drugs. Now, obviously that's illegal in this country and you really don't need it. The drums or a rattle, here we'll go science for a minute. If you have a sonic driver, drum beat or rattle, at 4 to 5 beats per second, it will literally over time, and you get used to being able to tune into it, will push the brain waves from the alpha and beta that we use in our everyday lives into the theta waves that are classically trance waves. Okay? That enables you to then journey to those realms.
Okay. Now, one of the ways that you mentioned is with the drum, and
yeah.
that's probably the more traditional way is
yeah.
with the drum, because I mean I'm sure some small tribes still use the psychedelics and like in the Amazon and things like that, and yeah. we want to warn everybody, be careful if you're going to take a expedition to South America to do this. You be very careful as to who you're traveling with, because they're not always the safest way.
No, there's been a number of touristy type come try the stuff and to do the journeys. No, if you were to do that, you need to research and make sure that you are truly working with some of the traditional shamans down there that have the years and years of training of actually finding the correct herbs and vines and such that go into the mixture and know how to administer the antidote if it goes bad. I mean, Michael talks about them having to give him the antidote medicine with the very first time he tried it, Michael Harner. So yes, that is something you have to be very careful about, but you don't really need it. A drum at 4 to 5 beats per second is really a rattle and off you go. It's really a And typically, if you look for a tape or a CD or whatever to use, you really want to make sure that you have that speed, because that's really the key.
Okay, now you showed us one rhythm that's used in order to, I guess, to start the journey. Now, does the rhythm change at different phases throughout this experience? Or does it remain the same, or does it stop?
Typically, particularly if you're drumming for a group or for yourself, you don't need so much for yourself, but if you're journeying for a group that are journeying together, you will be doing the 4 to 5 beats a second. Then when it's time for them to start to return or time to stop, you signal with a series of 4 beats, actually 4 rounds of 7 beats. Then the beat picks up very rapidly to say, okay, come on, it's time to head back. And the person retraces their step through their journey and comes back.
The same way that they came in?
Yeah.
Wow.
Generally, that's the recommended way to do it. Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't always happen, but that's usually, that's a good habit to get into. Right. So it's very rapid at that point. And for about 30, 45 seconds for them to come back.
Oh, wow.
And after that rapid beat, then it repeats to say, okay, guys, settle back into your bodies, you're here.
That's really cool. Wow. Okay.
And then the other thing is I did bring it, obviously this is being done with your eyes closed or in the dark or whatever. And these are I brought these because this is another way of
now, is that for focus so that you can pay attention and really remain in a meditative kind of mindset? Okay.
These are designed where you can actually journey with your eyes open and still be completely in the dark.
Okay. Is this something that you would recommend for most beginners to have something like this to kind of
It's a good idea.
Eyes to
Yeah, it's anything you can do while you're learning to turn off the monkey mind, as we typically call it, and stay focused and be comfortable. And that's one more way, but a bandana is fine too.
Okay, well, we're going to take a pause for a moment, and we'll be back to talk with Sharon.